Oh boy, here comes the news. Seems like so much happens. I just turn away for 1 or 2 days and it's just a deluge. And on top of that, I finally got some traction a little bit in social media for daring to say that Trump didn't do great in the debate or didn't win the debate. It was okay to say Biden lost it, but not that Trump didn't do well. But we'll get to that in a second. We got a lot of news. It's blowing up here, literally. We've got this incredibly cool science fiction-y thing. This is right out of a Tom Clancy novel here. We got Operation Below the Belt. Hezbollah fighters wounded after their pagers explode. And I'm even a little afraid to click on some of these because if you go into some of those graphic photos, first, see, apparently, Hezbollah is an Iranian linked or controlled group that is stationed in southern Lebanon so they can constantly attack Israel. In the same way, Gaza is also controlled by Hamas, or it was before Gaza was destroyed by Hamas, which was a group that had a coup and took over the government there, but then the West still forced Israel to have to deal with Hamas, and now Hamas has caused this situation that has seemingly backfired on Israel, and public opinion, especially in the West, is going against Israel. So anyway, Iran is chomping at the bit because they've been able to unleash these groups. The Houthis down disrupting shipping in around the Red Sea. We've got Hezbollah, the south of Lebanon, and we've got international eyes focused on Israel, pummeling them for the way they've dealt with Gaza. But here in the south of Lebanon, we have Hezbollah and their pagers. I've read a lot of these articles. I don't quite understand what the deal with pagers are. When is the last time you've seen a pager? I don't know. Maybe it has to do with, you don't want to use SIM cards and phones, which governments can obviously follow you everywhere. It's essentially, we got a tracking device that all of us use now that are on our bodies, and they're forcing all our commerce through that. So everything can be tracked now. It's I don't know, the mark of the beast or something, but maybe this is why Hezbollah is using these pagers. And somehow clever Israel has been able to cause them all to explode. 11 killed, 4,000 injured. That's what a fascinating thing. Now, you read the Edward Snowden tweet where he was saying they probably were not hacked because hacking wouldn't cause all of them to explode at the same time with just the battery or the components in the pager. Maybe it's because they had explosives put in there, and then maybe they were smuggled into Lebanon, given out to people, thinking, this is great. Our leadership has given them to us, and now they're blowing off the crotch bombs. And there are some shocking graphics and a couple videos out if you want to see what happens when you try to attack Israel. But now, and I'm not, I certainly, as an American, Israel is a democratic nation that has been one of our allies there in the Middle East. And however, the way they've conducted this war in Gaza has turned public opinion against them, even in the U.S., where the Biden administration has had to back off their unqualified support, which Israel, you could not mention anything against Israel without being called all kinds of names. And I remember all that way back into the 80s. You just could not question that. So this is a big, big sea change. And what I think is behind this, I've said it before, before we had Hamas causing this trouble by taking the hostages, there was a big brouhaha in Israel about the right-wing government there trying to reconfigure the judiciary so that they could not rule against the ruling government's policies. And there were a lot of people in the West saying, we got to get rid of that Netanyahu government. I think what's happening now is a lot of people would like Netanyahu to go way too far, clear away these issues, be extra violent. Then it can cause the government to fall, and then a more acceptable government so come in. So the Netanyahu government is kind of set up to do the dirty work in the region that has to be done because they're surrounded by enemies. And during this time of the Biden administration, we've seen a kind of a breakdown in the world order with China and Russia openly acting up and saying they're going to invade, maybe even use nukes. Even other countries like Venezuela have said, gee, wow, if this is a time when we can do anything we want, maybe we should invade a country as well. Here we've got Diddy indicted. I don't know. Who cares? I don't know. Everybody knows that the music industry is sort of scummy. Who knows? Wouldn't want to be in his shoes. 41% of Americans at peak stress levels, chronic headaches, brain fog. I don't know if this is interesting, but this is what this channel, my website, how I'm talking about, this is what it's all about. If we can understand the context of things, if we can understand what's really behind it, what actions the media and politicians are trying to make us take, it may allow us to step back from these staggering high levels of stress that apparently people have been coming down with. Okay, Kamala taking largest lead of the campaign. Really, with these kind of polls, if it's not talking about those toss-up states, it doesn't mean anything. Certainly, the Harris campaign has come out of nowhere to be trending. And we've got a bunch of other kind of rabble-rousing headlines here. Ohio sheriff says to write down addresses of homes with Harris signs. Pet Eating City, there's some great videos, some great songs about some of the Trump quotes. And we've got Republicans not accept the results if the Don loses. This may be a good time to bring up this little point here that I was a little surprised. So many people that I know, telling me, looking in me in the face and saying that Trump won the debate with Harris, where, I think no matter how we feel on the issues, we have to look at things realistically. And, we have, again, that's what this channel is about, being able to judge things. And it's not really a matter of opinion objectively. The debate with Harris was a poor performance by Trump. Now, it doesn't mean that Harris should win or that the issues that Trump espouses are wrong or that the issues that Harris espouses are right. It's just the way people perceived it. And, in all the polls they did, now, there were a lot of different polls, but, a lot of people aren't like maybe we are that follows all the issues and are interested in the spin aspect of things. There may be just average Joes, the normies. Almost everybody could see that Trump just got off in the wrong vein. And it's true, after the debate, you send out your acolytes to tell the press that your side won, whether they did or not. And this has always happened back through history. Doesn't mean the issues have changed. So, and excuse me. So, a lot of people have brought up to me when I just say this to them, well, what about Harris? What about all of her non-answers? What about the first question she's asked about, what are you going to do about inflation? And she says, I was raised in a middle class house, and it was no answer at all. And that's exactly her answer is exactly an example eventually of why Trump did so poorly. He should have come back and said, that's no answer at all. And it proves you have no plan for inflation and you're only reacting to things after the fact. But no, and if you go back and you look at my debate, when I did the live debate watch along and I edited up into some of the comments, you'll see how Trump is looking down. He's trying to respond to the points that Harris has said rather than give a speech out to the public, which is what Harris did. What Harris did in not answering that inflation question is exactly what Trump should have done in some instances, because that can just pass by most people. But the other side's going to pick up on that. And Trump didn't do that for all of the non-answers, the skirting of answers that Harris did sometimes. But her performance was much better. And this brought me back to thinking about this concept of spin. In most of the 80s, that was never mentioned. We didn't know what spin was. And in the 90s, you started talking about spin. And saying, what is spinning? Oh, I see what it is. You find out it's just lying. It's going out. I suppose young people now call it gaslighting. So if you go out and say objectively, Trump did better on the last debate, that's spin. That's not true. But doesn't mean you have to vote for Harris. It just means somebody had a poor performance. And in the same way, we can all agree that Biden's debate was a disaster and proved what everybody knew about him already. In the same way, we could say Trump didn't do so well. And I think, it used to be just experts, people on television would be sent out to spin. But now all of us can spin because of social media. We can all post. So really, because of social media, spin has made a liar of all of us sometimes. And I suppose that's okay. Spin has its place, maybe. But right here, I got to say what's the reality. Back in the 80s, during that debate, I think it was the 88 one, where Reagan kind of went on a little too long and uncharacteristically got cut off during the debate. The Republicans then didn't say, it was perfect. Everybody said, yeah, well, he got cut off. He went out. It was a little long-winded. The Republicans didn't suddenly start saying, yeah, we should have higher taxes, or yeah, we shouldn't say authoritarian states are evil anymore. We got to be Democrats. You just have to acknowledge when it's spin and when it's not spin. One way to look at it is spin is for the little people. Spin is for the public who doesn't really follow this. Again, maybe the normies, but behind the scenes people who have to deal with money have to take reality into account. So anyway, that is my blurb, because I was surprised that so many people were saying that Trump did better. But just if you watch what I said, I think it's pretty reasonable what I said and how I explained it right now. So I think a lot of people wish Trump had been a little more clear in the way he explained it. But yeah, it's a big chance on a debate. And I will say, what was this? This was a good article that was on Drudge a few days ago. But Trump maybe could have made a bigger point of, Trump does all the interviews, and here we have Donald Trump went on a podcast and discussed cocaine addiction, but Kamala, I think she's had another interview since then. But before the debate, she just only had one interview since being appointed the candidate. And that was a co-interview with the vice presidential nominee by her side. And it was done by CNN, obviously a friendly media outlet for them. And it was cut up and edited, I'm sure, in a very positive way. So this is interesting, where somebody does in the mainstream media here point out that the Kamala Harris campaign does risk being seen as too preciously controlled, or having too many handlers for Harris, because of perhaps their fear of her falling back into the cackling or her old style of speaking. Something about crypto. I wanted to. I'm not sure. See, I do these as I'm doing these reviews of the headlines. Sometimes the entire Drudge report updates to something else, and okay, here the news is still on here. Another assassination attempt on Trump. I'm not. I love conspiracy theories, but I don't believe them, and I don't want to promote them. But you got to admit, if these things keep happening in this sort of oddly blatant way, people are going to question. And I know that people are questioning the Hillary Clinton interview. People all right away are again just saying, Trump can't be allowed to take power. It is interesting, and the first assassination attempt has completely disappeared. It's dropped off the radar, almost like a news blackout on that. And now, I'm a writer, I'm an author, so I was quite interested in this nutty guy who tried to shoot Trump. This time, his book. It was a. This is always the sign of a rank amateur when you have too long a book title name. You see, you don't have to put your whole table of contents in the title. You should instead have a real pithy title. So apparently this is a bunch of weird ramblings. And yesterday there was, they just vaguely mentioned this. You had to search it out because the media were not going to say the title of the book. But by today, some people have read it. So now the media is going to filter in the information to you. And one of the things was him inviting Iran to shoot Trump. Yeah, see, this title should have been Today's Unwinnable Wars. And then all of this could be a subtitle if necessary. Your title is marketing, so you want it to intrigue. So this is some kind of a nutball, and it is. I can't remember where I read this, but it is on Twitter. And I'm not even a gun guy, and I know this. You don't use an AR rifle as a sniper. So these people who are bringing assault rifles to try to shoot at long distance, assault rifles just spray some bullets to scare people in medium or short range distance. So I guess it tells us that the people who've been trying to assassinate Trump are rank amateurs. They're not using the proper equipment. But if I were Trump, I don't know. I would get some of my own security, because it is clear that his opposition is not going to let up on saying that he can't be allowed to take power. What else do we have here? Another celebrity, McConaughey, has gone on a diet or something, and now he looks different. I don't think I would take that Ozempic unless a few years from now, until it's all clear that it's safe and it's not going to cause your face to melt off or something. We've got Russian subs and ships shadowed the U.S. coast off Alaska. It's more of a sign of countries probing American resolve in the face of what's happened in the last few years. NFL season has started, which I love. I love to play the games in the background. Suspicious packages sent to election officials in at least 6 states. and dirty tricks. That whoever is behind this or whatever the intention is, obviously the subtext is, there is concern that whoever wins the election, however the election turns out, that there will be something I don't think the U.S. has had for some time: unrest, whatever that causes, whatever that means, and that is something that people would be looking at right now, considering the polarization of politics and the very little middle ground being given really on either side of the political equation. This is interesting and a little compelling. People who rage against the machine. So this is a lot of people who are resisting modernity. They're calling themselves the doomer optimists. This does display something about history. Things never just go out to a straight line. It's not just more and more social media and people online and more connected world and more putting everything on our phones and going to a cashless society. There will be a pushback. There will be a reaction to that. I know the great example is that, in the 50s, after winning World War II, it was all about modernity, the plastic fantastic society, upward mobility, prosperity. And then you had a new generation of kids in the 60s who turned completely away from all that and back to natural things, turned against the hegemony of the establishment culture. Well, here we have something that's probably going to be a little bit different as well. And I do expect, I think people are going to rebel against a cashless society. I think people are going, as they already have been, rebelling against globalism, especially in the case of a country like China that is using the money in the factories we sent there to kind of saber rattle against the United States and the international order. And I do think the way we have to look at globalism is not that it's all bad. In some cases, it's helped build middle-class societies and make the world safe for the United States or the rest of the liberal democracies. But in some cases, in very big countries like China, it clearly hasn't. It's strengthened the authority by sending all the money and the jobs over there. We've been able to strengthen their authoritarian bent. So here we have people who are, I guess, they're not hippies, but they are dropping off the grid. I also had a theory that I know there's some guys who are making new 16-bit computers. If there was a way to network those and you could go back to the old internet that didn't have governments controlling it all, because they do control it all from the shadows. So you could get away from the Facebooks and get away from the Googles and just log on to an old bulletin board style net like we used to have it. Get away from the pictures online and all this graphical JavaScript stuff, all this logging in that they want your email address. I think a lot of people would buy back into that. If we could get hooked up with 16-bit computers and bulletin boards again. Do I really need to see a picture of every meal you've eaten every day of your life? I don't think so. And what else do we have here? Aaron Hernandez docuseries. Who cares again? Hidden structures discovered under the surface of Mars. Could this be a clickbait title? And yes, it is. It's just either volcanoes or impact craters, not cities, not yet. And finally, a lot of this is where I lived and I grew up. The Parkinson's Belt. All summer and spring and even into the fall, you drive everywhere and you can smell that weird pesticide and chemicals everywhere. You're breathing it in all the time. And now they're identifying areas that are connected with the distribution of certain type of chemicals in these farming areas of the U.S. That are seem to be linked with Parkinson's. So there's some good news for you. Anyway, I think that's the news for today. If you want to be mad at me, and it's great because I have gotten a little bit of finally some traction. You know, I'm a big YouTuber. I might get a dozen views of my videos. And I know because I've spoken frankly, about issues like assassination, I think a lot of the video views of my videos are suppressed. But if you would like to comment, please do. And if you want to even get more mad, you can go and see the video that I made where I was live reacting to the debate. So just keep in mind, we have to be on a certain level. We're not the public here. We're the people trying to analyze things, understanding where things are going, taking a step back from the partisanness of things so we can make a clear decision about what side we want to be on, or if we want to be on a side at all. So anyway, that's today's video. Please like and comment. I'd love that. Please share it around because YouTube won't. And I'll see you next time for more real, true life commentary on what's really happening, not the spin. All right, bye-bye.